Hello and welcome in Time Machine Hologram, and today I'm gonna talk a little bit about Kellogg. Kellogg, he's a real mercenary. To start with, I wanted to be angry with Kellogg for kidnapping my son in Fallout 4, but once you go through his memories, you realize two things. He's a product of the tragedies, the Wasteland, and go with nothing left to lose. He's solely focused on doing what he does well. Although Kellogg has done some pretty terrible things, I couldn't see him strictly as evil. Even father or the other player character denounce him. He was paid to do these jobs, therefore much of blame falls upon the employers who are having him enact their will. I gave him purpose for royalty. There was never an option to bribe Kellogg, and he holds fast to his current employer, the Institute. So on that level I admire his integrity for the work, but I find the work he does despicable. It doesn't mean I like him. I pretty much always drove him first and shoot him in the head when you finally encounter him instead of talking. It's not like this charmer is going to add anything meaningful into a conversation about Sean except for his location. I appreciated that he's not as clearly cut and dry as many of the bad guys in Wasteland. Raiders are clearly nuts, super mutants are always out to eat you, animals they don't really think, they just hunt, and of course Synths. Shoot and first and ask question never after. At the very least, Kellogg tries to find the modicum of civility near his end. That's more than we can say for most of the bad guys in the Wasteland. Still, he's a piece of dirt. The sole survivor lost his entire world, was frozen, lost his spouse and a son, woke up and had tragedy after tragedy happened upon them, yet can still be quite heroic. Having tragedy heaped on you doesn't mean you automatically should choose to be a villain. Kellogg could have lived a life that was quite different, but in the end he chose to heap suffering on others instead of focusing on rebuilding his own life or working towards betterment of others. At the end of the day, I see him mostly as a deniable asset for father. He can have Kellogg to do the Institute dirty work, and father can feel like he's keeping his own hands clean. However, it doesn't change the awful things the Institute does. It just gives a buffer between the people giving the orders and the people suffer because of them. He was merely a tool for the Institute to exert its power over the people of the Commonwealth and the Institute itself. They knew what he was and what he did and how he did it, and they liked it. They could have reigned him in any time, but they chose not to. One could argue that Kellogg went so overboard in his work because he knew that it was what his bosses wanted. To instill a fear in a people, to be mercenaries. The second he showed any type of a common human decency, his days of being useful to the Institute were over and they would be put down, and he probably wouldn't know what hit him. Could the Institute teleport him to somewhere he could survive? 2 miles out in the ocean, deep in a glowing sea, without radiation protection. Teleport him while he is sleeping into the middle of the nest of angry deathclaws? Probably yes, all of three. How about teleporting him a 0.5 miles above the surface of the world and letting gravity to do the dirty work? Kellogg was merely a tool, as I said, for the Institute to terrorize people to bend to their will.